name is Shanyah McGirt, and today I will be discussing the ethical aspects of keeping marine mammals in public aquariums. The more I explored this topic, the more I realized that captivity is about far more than just the actual conditions in which animals live. It is also about how these settings are viewed, accepted, and rationalized in society. Today, my focus is to offer a greater grasp of what research indicates about the daily lives of marine mammals, how visitors view captivity, and how social and institutional variables impact what we believe to be normal instead of trying to make a case for or against captivity. Extended traveling, close social bonds, and rich acoustic communication are all essential to the natural lives of marine mammals, such as orcas, dolphins, and beluga whales, which are extremely intelligent creatures. Given these changes, it is uncertain whether their needs are sufficiently met in concrete enclosures or tanks. There are notable differences among natural and confined ocean environments based on research. For instance, captivity poses significant challenges for these long-lived, highly intelligent, wide-ranging, and socially complex animals, according to Marino and colleagues. They point out the contrast between the restrictive nature of captive environments and the dynamic and characteristics of the natural environment, which highlights this issue once more. Due to these creatures depending on motion, sound, and social connections in ways that tanks cannot fully support, these distinctions are significant. Aquariums often resort to arguments concerning knowledge and conservation to depend on captivity. Even though there are some educational advantages, study indicates that they might be less flexible than what is usually thought. My leading question was driven by the disconnect between the needs of animals and the means in which institutions defend their captivity. How do aquariums maintain the routine of raising marine mammals in captivity? And how do social factors affect the public's view of it? The experiences of visiting an aquarium is intended to be exciting, aesthetically appealing, and educational. However, studies suggest that a lot of individuals are unaware of what it's like for marine mammals to be kept in these living conditions. Researchers found that marine parks are thought of primarily as a form of entertainment, while also discovering that 62.8% of visitors were not aware of the issues of captive marine mammals' welfare in another visitor study. This suggests that instead of thinking about safety issues, many visitors look at captivity through a lens of enjoyable family experiences. However, a different picture develops when we take in the animal's point of view. The way marine creatures behave, interact, and build connections is altered during this time they are kept in captivity. Lehrman explains this by stating that captivity is not a wild nor natural environment, and that seeing natural behaviors does not necessarily mean happiness. Tensions that are unlikely to arise in the wild due to orcas having the ability to move away from conflict and relying on their family pods aren't possible for captive orcas because of the manufactured communities and tanks. Trainers in the Blackfish documentary described fragrant rakes from other whales and remembered placing Tolucum in a dark metal holding pool for long periods of time. The details show how social acts that are prevalent, such as raking, may turn into an ongoing cause of stress due to limited space and imposed social groupings. As a prime instance of how confinement may worsen mental and social stress, animals like Tolucum must cope with conflict in a small space rather than be able to move away, change location, or rely on natural families. Another crucial factor is sound. In comparison to humans, marine mammals use acoustic communication far more extensively. The AWI report adds that captive creatures may suffer premature hearing loss due to increased noise exposure, and dolphins in concrete tanks often exhibit modified whistle patterns due to acoustic distortion. Everything is influenced by these shifts, including social bonding and communication. We must go beyond biological factors and take into consideration the social norms that make captivity seem appropriate or even helpful to fully understand why it continues to exist. Green criminology can be useful in this case. Green criminology forces us to think about harm as an effect of greater social structures, such as industries, social customs, and economies, rather than simply a thing that individuals do. Vanum's clarification of how institutional and social structures shape the way people see and act toward wildlife is one of the most useful. He suggests that based on circumstances, animals often transform into commodities, entertainers, or ambassadors. This helps explain the understanding of why marine mammals are presented as performers or educational tools, positions that support the way they live in captivity. Another factor is the layout of the institution. Performance spaces often put the needs of the visiting public before the needs of the animals, according to the AWI report. This highlights how facilities are built more for entertainment and exposure than for the well-being of the animals. As noted by Clegg and Delfor, welfare is predominantly concerned with how the animal is feeling. However, in ways that directly impact well-being, confinement limits natural ways of living. Discussions about ethics reveal similar issues. The authors of Cetacean Conservation and the Ethics of Captivity point out that the conservation efforts need to continue keeping focus on how animals respond to chase, capture, handling, and enclosure, and create methods to mitigate adverse responses. This acts as a reminder that keeping animals in captivity involves more than just putting them in tanks. It further involves stressful processes that call for ongoing negative control. From a criminological perspective, captivity turns into a structure shaped by tourism, entertainment, stories of culture, and business interest. When taken as a whole, all these factors give the impression that confinement is accepted, yet there are pressing safety concerns. A more comprehensive pattern came up when I combined the research from welfare researchers, visitor studies, criminologists, scholars, and personal experiences. The lived experiences of marine mammals in captivity differ structurally from what they experience in the wild. Serious welfare challenges persist, as reported by Marino and colleagues. According to visitor research, many individuals were not aware of welfare issues. In addition, Van discusses how wildlife importance is socially constructed through cultural and institutional processes, which helps understand why captivity seems normal. Therefore, the main concern for the future is, how do we find the right balance between education, conservation goals, amusement, and the well-being of intelligent and socially complex animals? There is not just one answer, but by using research in green criminology to investigate captivity, we may gain greater awareness of the issue, as well as a more critical take on the structures which affect our views of marine life. Thank you for listening.